Hey guys, so I wanted to come on here and give you my review on AEW Collision's debut tonight. Right now it's 11:23 p.m. And I know people already did review it because here on the West Coast we get it kind of on a delay. Basically, we get it at 8 o'clock, Pacific time, just like you guys get it at 8 o'clock Eastern time live. Because I drink some Polar Seltzer Lime flavor. Um, but yeah, I will say that overall I thought the I thought the debut episode was good, and now the only question, obviously, that everybody's going to have is, can AEW keep this up? We know that next week they're going to be at the Scottsdale Center in Toronto on the eve of Forbidden Door. So they should have a decent crowd there, just like they're going to have the following night for Forbidden Door. So hopefully we'll have just as much of an energetic crowd as we had tonight in Chicago. But I've got a feeling the reaction that Punk got tonight in Chicago is going to be the complete opposite, in Toronto. And I think everybody listening and watching this, and those that have done reviews already, commentary on it, know that. They know that for a fact. Now, first of all, we have to talk about Punk. Punk, of course, made his return after 9 months, and as expected, as I pretty much said in one of my videos, I talked about this. Punk basically came out, opened the show, and he did what Punk typically does. When he's got a live mic and is able to just, say what's on his mind, he went out and did that. and boy, I'll tell you, if you're kind of like in between whether or not this is a work now or it's not, what he said tonight kind of puts you like even more in a kind of, confusing, speculative kind of mindset, because tonight he shot all right. He shot and everything, and basically put it this way. He basically called the Bucks counterfeit. He said that David Zaslav, the guy that won Warner Bros. Discovery, he calls him One Bill Phil. Which I guess is a shot at the $1, the one shot of the Hangman Page's $1 lariat, or whatever it's called. Whatever the move's called, the buckshot lariat. So obviously One Phil Bill that David calls him, apparently according to CM Punk, is a shot at Adam Page. And then he said that there are those that expect him to give an apology for what's happened, and he did, but not the way they were hoping, because he said because basically he said, to those of you who believe I owe an apology, here it is. I'm sorry that you're as soft as the wrestlers you support. Yeah, he said that. He basically said that you fans that think I owe an apology to the elite are just as soft as they and those that support them. In other words, what he's saying, shooting there, if you will, is saying, hey, if you are legit fans, if you're strong wrestling fans, if you will understand that in wrestling, we shouldn't apologize for whatever we say or do, because that's who we are. He mentioned at the beginning of the promo that as long as he's around, this is going to be a place for this is going to be looked at as a pro wrestling business run by grown-ups. That's another shot, I guess, to the Bucks and the crew. And then he was holding up this bag he carried. What he did when he came down is he had the boots over his shoulders, 2 wrestling boots over his shoulders, and he was holding a red bag. And in the red bag, assumedly, is a replica or his version of the AEW Championship, and basically stating that no one has beaten him for the championship, and until they do, he's basically still rightfully king. Now, he didn't say much in that manner, but basically he's alluding to the fact that, hey, whoever the champion is, which is MJF right now, until you beat him, clean in the ring for what he has in that bag, you're not the real champion. I am. And I know some people might, I don't know if they've talked about it yet or pointed out, I know some people might kind of be a little iffy, critical about potentially them doing a unification deal between Punk and MJF or whoever the champion is on the other side of the coin. But we'll see. Because I know that if there's one thing they worry about is, Tony Khan and his crew saying, hey, let's make Punk the AEW champion of Collision and MJF could be the champion of, Dynamite. But we'll have to see. But I know that's probably one thing they do worry about. But yeah, Punk, he didn't hold back in the promo. He said the king is back. He basically said that those that say stuff behind his back and everything, or are against him and just hate him and all that, they're basically worried about him. They're worried about who he is, what he brings to the table, stuff like that. Basically acknowledging those that like the Bucks and Omega and Page, that they worry they're gonna get. Now again, he didn't say it in this manner, but you can kind of interpret it like this from this pipe bomb, if you will, this shoot. That, it's being interpreted as him saying that the elite are afraid they're gonna get overshadowed with him being there, and all that. So that's basically how I took it. That's basically how I took it. But overall, yeah, he cut a massive work shoot promo, if you will, depending on how you view it, and that was it. He talked about the boots he was wearing and saying until someone is out there that's man enough to fill these boots that he's holding, that he's worn, he's gonna be around. He's gonna stick around for a long time. So yeah, overall he did I'll put it this way, he did a decent job with the being himself, and with this work shoot pipe bomb promo, however you look at it, upon his return. Now, after that, of course, we got into the matches. Now, our announce team, I want to talk about this. I like the fact that that Tony Khan and his team, those that are helping him out creatively, I like that Tony Khan and his team are, or at least Tony Khan at the behest of his team, are giving us variety with this commentary team. I like that. I like that we're getting variety. So we're getting two different commentary teams, just like WWE does with SmackDown or Raw. We're getting it here with Collision and Dynamite. So I like that. So our commentary team was Kevin Kelly and Nigel McGuinness. Kevin Kelly, who this is the first time outside of New Japan and everything that he's been on, and I think even Ring of Honor. It's the first time in a while since his days in WWE, WWF, that on a major platform, he's been a weekly regular play-by-play announcer. I mean, yeah, he does work for New Japan. Don't get me wrong. And everything, as well as some other independent international promotions, but from a major scale, this is the first time in a long time that he's been the play-by-play announcer or been on commentary, period, for a major promotion on a major worldwide scale and network. And of course, he had Nigel McGuinness with him, who is no stranger to doing commentary. He's doing commentary on occasions for Ring of Honor. Probably not anymore, since that's just going to be Ian Riccaboni and what's his name? Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman. So I guess again, just a decent decision. I guess it is trying to balance things out, if you will. Overall, I like I said, the show was good, a decent debut, and they have to hopefully keep the momentum up. The first match that we got was for the TNT Championship. It was a good big man match. Got plenty of time and everything. But in the end, pretty much what a lot of people felt was going to happen based on what happened at Double or Nothing and everything, and the way they built it up from what happened on Dynamite, this backstage this past Wednesday, we all knew where this was heading, and it did head that way with Luchasaurus, thanks to interference behind the referee's back by Christian, Christian hitting Wardlow over the head with a headset. Luchasaurus is the new TNT champion, but the way they did it, and even Kevin Kelly acknowledged it this way. The way they did it is that, even though Luchasaurus won it, Christian's holding the championship up like he won the title. In other words, playing back to what Christian did back in 2001, when Edge won King of the Ring, but Christian was always always carrying around the trophy like he was the one that did it. So something may come out of that. Maybe Luchasaurus will turn babyface and realize, wait a minute, you're taking all the credit for all the work I'm doing and acting like you won the title, but I'm the one that won the title. So who knows? We might get a babyface run for Luchasaurus out of that, but right now it does feel like we're going to head into a rematch between the two. More than likely either at Forbidden Door or at All In. And if it's not Wardlow that they go after the title, I've got a feeling it's going to be Miro. Either way, Luchasaurus isn't going to be holding that title for much longer. And I think because of a miscommunication and maybe Luchasaurus being told by people or hinted at others, even maybe bringing Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, if you... All right. Sorry about that. But like I said, what was I? Just got distracted. Oh yeah. But, like I said, either Wardlow or it's Miro. In between now and All In, Luchasaurus isn't going to be holding that belt for much longer. He's either going to lose it at All In Wembley, or he's going to lose it at Fyter Fest or Fight for the Fallen. One of the two. And I think it's going to be due to a miscommunication by Christian and him. And I think, honestly, what's going to... I was trying to say before... that happened there. Basically, I think what's going to occur throughout Luchasaurus' run is a lot of people, and as I was mentioning, possibly even Jack Perry, Jungle Boy, is going to come in and it's going to come in and talk to Luchasaurus and say, hey, look, Christian's acting like he won the title, but you did. So he's trying to act like he's champion, and you're not. He's trying to take credit. So you need to keep an eye on that and everything. And I think that might lead to something. Again, I think in the end, we're going to get Luchasaurus and Christian in a program against each other, because that definitely feels like the direction they're going to start heading into. In this, I'm assuming, going to be short reign by Luchasaurus as TNT champion. We'll have to see. But yeah, it was a good big man match, and can't say any more than that. We had Andrade El Idolo and Buddy Matthews, the significant others of Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley, face each other. And what was a great matchup, no doubt. Good storytelling with the injuries, like the injuries to Andrade's, or the re-aggravating of the injury to Andrade's pec, the injury to Buddy's leg. I mean, during the match, they even stopped the match mid-match to check on them and everything, to really play up the story angle of, there might be some legit injuries based on injuries they've had in the past. But they continued the match. It was a good match. And what was interesting about it is you had Buddy Matthews during one portion of the match using Rhea Ripley's Texas Cloverleaf submission on Andrade, and then Andrade, to win the match, slaps on the figure 4, but then bridges up into the figure 8, and they even call it the figure 8. So yeah, Andrade ends up winning a decent match, but then as he's trying to show respect to Buddy Matthews, help him up, and it looks like Buddy's going to return that respect, the lights go out, and all of a sudden the lights come back on, and there's the rest of the House of Black, and they attack Andrade. Brody King hits him with a clothesline and everything, and that's how the match and that post-match segment comes to an end. And you can kind of tell something was going to happen, because you saw Julia Hart on the outside just waving her head going, no. And all of a sudden the lights go out, and then they come back on, and there's the rest of the House of Black. So it definitely looks like what we're going to get is, House of Black against LFI, Andrade's group, which would be Andrade, Rush, and Dralistico, I think, going up against the House of Black for the trios title. Now you might say, well, where does that put Princeton Vance? And that's a good question. I'm going to assume Princeton Vance is going to be either maybe the wild card in this equation, to where Andrade, if he does recruit LFI to help against the House of Black, he's going to look at Princeton and be like, I don't trust this guy. I saw what he did to the Dark Order. I saw what he did to -1. I don't trust him. So I've got a feeling he's going to be like one of those wild cards, kind of like the whole, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like, I wouldn't say like the MJF at times of the inner circle, like when, MJF was associating himself with Cody, and then of course with the inner circle and stuff like that. I'm not saying he's going to be like that, but he's going to be in that role of, there's just something about him that even the guy that's the leader of the group, Andrade, is not going to trust. And he's going to keep an eye out for him. And I've got a feeling Princeton Vance may end up going. This is just me. It's my opinion. I've got a feeling Princeton Vance is going to go from, LFI to the House of Black. That's just my opinion and everything. But yeah, I think what's going to happen is Andrade is going to recruit Rush and Dralistico to be his partners against the House of Black for the trios title. So we're going to have a trios program on the horizon with LFI and the House of Black. The next match we had was the women's match. I thought it was good. I definitely like the idea that it seems that what's going on here is that Ruby and Toni are getting a little cocky, a little unfocused without Saraya there. Like, yeah, Saraya will get cocky and everything, as part of the Outcast, but she has more focus. Like Saraya, has more focus on what needs to be done and the job they need to accomplish. And I think without her, both, Ruby and Toni lose their focus. And that's kind of what happened here, because they went up against Skye Blue and Willow Nightingale. Willow Nightingale, of course, is the New Japan Strong Women's Champion. And yes, just in case anybody's curious, they did mention Mercedes Moné on television and how that was an upset. So it seems that they are playing more into the idea that Mercedes is AEW bound. But we can't say just yet, because that's up to Mercedes, aka Sasha, to decide whether she wants to be all elite, or she wants to stay with New Japan, or she just wants to do her own thing and travel wherever she wants. We'll have to see. But yeah, the match was decent. And again, what happened is the cockiness of the Outcasts got the best of them. And basically, Ruby got accidentally sprayed in the eyes by the can by Toni, who was going to spray it down the mouth of Skye Blue. And this was another distraction for Willow to take out Toni, and for Skye Blue to hit the code red sunset flip powerbomb into a pin, and beat Ruby Soho to win the match, which makes sense because Skye Blue, like CM Punk, is from Chicago, so you want to at least let the hometown hero win and kind of continue the momentum that they have. But yeah, basically, to me, when I look at this, I look at the fact that they're trying to, with the Outcasts, kind of play into the story that without the leader, without the person that brought them together, as a group, without her being there, they kind of lose focus, and that hurts them in the long run. So hopefully if Saraya comes back, she'll kind of take the reins and not totally, get on them and call them out for their, for the failures and everything while she was gone and all that, but mainly to say, hey, even when I'm gone, guys, you cannot lose focus. You have to stay focused. Don't think you have it all well in hand. So yeah, like I said, basically because they got a little too cocky, got the best of them, and they ended up losing the match to Willow and Skye Blue. Now there was a moment from what I saw and everybody else saw where Willow pounced Ruby into the barricade, and it looked like Ruby may have suffered a concussion, or just the way she hit it with her head looks like she suffered a concussion, but we'll see. And if that happens and Saraya's out on leave, I'm assuming personal leave right now, um, with her out as well, and if you lose Ruby, then yeah, the whole Outcast thing goes out the window, period. Because then what are you going to do? What are you going to do from there? Obviously, if I'm Tony Khan, I reach into Ring of Honor, I say, bring Athena in, and let's have her be the fourth member to help continue the momentum of this group, so that doesn't fade away in case they lose Ruby. But yeah, it was a good match, and like I said, the continuing momentum for Skye Blue, and it looks like Skye Blue, I think, is going to be challenging for a championship again real soon. I would assume it's going to be either for the world title again, or it's going to be for the TBS title. We'll have to see. We did have Miro in action against Tony Nese. Tony Nese, along with Mark Sterling and everything. Not the Mark Sterling, apparently, that I met at CSW, but still. Trying to interrupt and everything, tried to take the show hostage, turn it into a fitness program. But then Miro came out. Miro, the former Rusev, came out to a big pop. And he basically had apparently had an open contract for someone to face him. And that someone that signed the contract was Tony Nese. And Tony Nese paid the price, and he ended up losing to Rusev. Miro, I should say, ended up losing to Miro. Basically, I wouldn't say in a glorified squash match, but I would say a competitive, semi-competitive squash match, but mostly a squash match. Then we had the six-man tag, the trios match between Samoa Joe, Jay White, and Juice Robinson against CM Punk and FTR, or as they're collectively known, CMFTR, who got a CMFTR chant going. And this was a good match, a really good main event. It got plenty of time. All guys shined. The moment Punk and Joe got in there, the crowd popped because obviously they know the history between these two, dating back to Ring of Honor and stuff. So, yeah, just a great match, back and forth. And in the end, basically Juice Robinson, obviously the reason he was part of this, you could have put Joe and Jay White against, you could have had Joe and Jay White team up with somebody on main event caliber outside of Juice Robinson and everything for this main event, but they went with Juice because Juice was going to be the one that took the pinfall. I mean, Joe wasn't going to take it because they got to keep him strong. Jay wasn't going to take it because he's collectively looked at as the leader of Bullet Club Gold, so he wasn't going to take it. So it was Juice Robinson. And yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened in the end. They basically, they hit Juice. I don't know if it was Juice at first. No, I think it was Jay White. Yeah, it was Jay White, I believe, that got hit with the Power and Glory finisher, the finisher that Paul Roma and Hercules Hernandez did back when they were a tag team, Power and Glory in WWF. Even Nigel McGuinness called that out. And then Punk hit the Macho Elbow on Jay White, didn't get the pin. But then later on, towards the end of the match, Juice tags himself in, tags Joe's back, when Joe, because basically Joe looked like he had the match run. He put, Punk into Kikita clutch, and it looked like he had it won until, I think it was Cash Wheeler, Dax Harwood came in and broke it up. And basically, this caused Joe to, I think he got kicked in the head by Punk, and it caused Joe to wobble back to his corner with Juice tagged in, and as soon as Juice tagged in, you knew that's it, it's over, and because he got caught with a kick of his own, or something, and he got lifted into the big rig, the Shouted Machine as they call it, and then Punk hit him with the GTS and got the pinfall 1, 2, 3. So yeah, in the end, CM Punk and FTR win. A decent, main event to close out the debut of Collision. So overall, like I said, I thought this was a good debut. I thought it was, I'll put it this way, I thought it was an outstanding debut for the show and everything. But like I mentioned earlier, and I know I'm repeating myself, and others have probably done the same thing in their reviews, they got to keep this momentum up. They got to keep this momentum up going into to next week, which I think they'll be able to do that with the Scotsbank Center being sold out, or at least close to it, because of Forbidden Door being the following night. But then they got to continue it later on, going into Hamilton and then Calgary, into whatever that place is, Regina or something. I don't know what the name is. In Canada, one of those other towns in Canada. They gotta keep this momentum up outside of Chicago and next week, because even if they're taped, and some of these shows will be taped, coming up in the next few weeks, they start losing that momentum, especially as we're heading into summer now. That's not going to look good. It's not going to look good, because, it's gonna be a repeat of history. And what I mean by a repeat of history is just when it looks like some of the shows, the new shows, the SmackDowns, if you will, of a promotion, seem to be taking off, seem to be the new be-all, end-all. Over time, they start losing that momentum. Rampage seemed to be like that new shiny toy and everything that was going to continue the momentum AEW had, and now all of a sudden it's dropped off to the point that it's just AEW's version of Superstars, or AEW's version of NXT or Main Event, but on a national level. That's what it's dropped off to, in the eyes of a lot of folks. Well, while Collision here looks like to be off to a hard start, and they just need to make sure it remains that way, because if it starts to drop off, even with Punk as the centerpiece, that's not good. That's not good whatsoever. So if I'm Tony Khan and I'm his team that I'm assembling for both Collision and Dynamite, I've got to make sure that I keep this momentum going every Saturday, live or taped, to where I could keep people tuning in, or at least setting their DVRs to watch later, when the show comes on, so that way I continue to have that momentum. So again, overall, I thought it was good, and I thought some storylines definitely developed here. You're planting the seeds for Punk and Joe 2023, if you will. You're continuing to build this. You're continuing to build the rivalry and feud for FTR and Bullet Club Gold. You've set the table for a trios program with, the House of Black, but more than likely LFI, Andrade's group. You've set up obviously a rematch for the TNT title, possibly between now and All In, whether it's going to be Fyter Fest, Fight for the Fallen, or All In itself, as well as, believe it or not, if you notice it, believe it or not, you kind of start planting the seeds of that breakup between Luchasaurus and Christian, with Luchasaurus pretty much doing what he did in 2001, when Edge won that King of the Ring, and Christian was hogging the trophy around like he did it, and celebrating with it and holding it up high like he won it, which he didn't. You're kind of doing the same thing here, and just that little bit of visual evidence of Christian holding the belt like, yeah, I'm the champ, and everything, and holding it up high like he's the one that won it. And then you have the commentators like Kevin Kelly acknowledging the way Christian is acting. That to me, again, opens the door, or at least starts to slightly open the door to that future program between Luchasaurus and Christian. So overall, they did a decent job here. You bring Miro back, you build him up to be a killer again, and I like that, especially if it's not Wardlow, it's Miro that goes after the TNT title. So I like that. Overall, decent. Like I said, decent debut. And again, got to keep that momentum up, guys. You got to keep that momentum up going into Toronto, which I think they'll still be able to do with that. But then afterwards, it's going to be a different story, taped or live. It's going to be a different story. And also, like I said, we got to look at the difference in reaction Punk's going to get. The ticket sales obviously are not looking good in Canada or in the Northeast as they were in Chicago. So obviously that's very telling. And the way Punk's promo, his pipe bomb, work, shoot promo that we got tonight, depending on how you view it, definitely is going to rub a lot of fans the wrong way, especially the elite fans. And that's the truth. Now the question obviously is, with his pipe bomb, and him calling the Bucks counterfeit Bucks, and then them responding on the social media, by acknowledging that, saying, hey, in 2018, if we were counterfeit, we wouldn't have had our first shirt at Pro Wrestling Tees or something like that. With all that happening, the question is, does it seem like it's now more evident than ever that it is a work, and that maybe something was, mutually agreed upon between all parties behind the scenes, and we're just now seeing the evidence of that come to fruition? Maybe we'll have to see. But if it is true, and again, a lot of people are saying just by what Punk said, and then by the Bucks responding and everything, it definitely feels like, this is now a work. It is a work shoot program that's going to culminate down the line, whether it's all in, all out, or full gear, with a match between the three. Whether it's just a regular trios match or anything goes or blood and guts, we'll have to see. But it definitely, in the eyes of a lot of folks, feels like that's going to happen. But then again, we don't know. We don't know. I mean, maybe Punk's able to say that. Maybe, here's what I'm thinking. If we don't get the match because of legal reasons, then maybe the only, I guess you could say, the only thing they can be able to do is just go back and forth with each other in ways to where we know who they're acknowledging. It's just that we're not going to get any physicality in the ring legally because of it, because we may not know, maybe Tony Khan and maybe the lawyers on both sides may not know exactly how that physicality will turn out to be in the ring, outside of hey, do this to me, do that to me, and kind of talk things over, to where it could get legitimately shoot. It could turn into it. Basically, if we don't get the match, a lot of people feel we are going to get it based on what's happened tonight, or last night, depending on when you watch this. The thing is, if we don't get the match, despite all this evidence pointing to the fact that it seems to be a work and it's going to give us that matchup, the question obviously is why? Why would you hold back on it if you're letting both parties now get a little bit more free range in taking shots at each other, or responding to those shots taken to them? What's the point of letting that happen if we're not going to get a match? And to me, the only thing I can think of them not wanting a match to happen is because, again, what Punk said in that interview about Adam Page. Maybe they're worried that's going to happen. Maybe they're worried that a regularly planned trios match of, whether it's a regular trios or anything goes trio or blood and guts, whatever, will turn into, at some point, an all-out shoot. An all-out real fisticuffs kind of deal, because of a lot of emotions riding high in it. So we'll see. If we get it, and nothing comes of it that's more shoot style during the match, then hey, that's great. But if we don't get it, and maybe that's the reason why, then we're just gonna have to take with what we're given right now until things are truly settled down and cooled off on all parties' side. That's all I can say. But guys, give me your thoughts overall. What did you think of the debut episode of Collision? How do you feel about it? Do you think we are now seeing the evidence of this now being a work between the Elite and CM FTR? What are your thoughts? Give me your thoughts there. Also, what do you think of some of the stories and rivalries that are now being built out of the Collision debut, as well as the little bits here and there that I mentioned? Comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Live chat during the premiere. Superchats will be open during the premiere in the live chat. I will put that in the description if you want to donate that way. But guys, give me your thoughts. And do you think the momentum will be kept with Collision? I know it's going to be kept going into next week. But what are your thoughts about afterwards? After Toronto and all that, what do you think is going to be, the momentum, for Collision? Do you think it'll be kept up, or do you think it'll start to fade over time? Also, I will advise this: keep an eye. You got to keep. Here's my suggestion. I know everybody's gonna look at this. Watch Dynamite this Wednesday. Watch Dynamite because it's still in Chicago, and they're gonna be at the Wintrust Arena, the Now Arena, if you will. And just imagine that reaction the Elite's gonna get, because if you ever thought a crowd was gonna basically be cheering and turning, even for one night, turning the BCC, babyface, this Wednesday at the Wintrust Arena is going to be that night. And if you think Tony Will Ospreay babyface against someone like Kenny Omega, even for one night was going, okay, let me go. Okay, like I said, if you thought, what was I trying to say? I lost my train of thought there. Oh yeah. Again, like I said, if you ever wonder if we're going to get a crowd to cheer for the BCC as baby faces, against the Elite, then this Wednesday in Chicago at the Wintrust Arena, you're going to get that. Because if you heard the fans and what they said about the Elite tonight during Punk's promo, yeah. Oh, it's a pipe bomb? Yeah. I don't think the Elite's going to get any babyface reaction, period. So this Wednesday is going to be the only night, in my opinion, so far for the time being, that the BCC is going to be full-fledged babyfaces by crowd standards, and so will the likes of Will Ospreay, because Will Ospreay's looked at as a heel. The BCC are heels, but they're going to still be in Chicago, and all I could say is Elite. They better get ready to play into the heel portion, into the heel factor that the crowd's going to put them in. That's all I'm going to say. But guys, again, give me your thoughts overall and everything. Let me know how you feel about this. What did you think of Dynamite and everything, and things that came out of it and being built from it? And until next time, guys, I will talk to you all later. And you will get an audio podcast of this too.